Jerry Brudos was known as the Lust Killer and the Shoe Fetish Slayer. He was born on the 31st of January 1939 in a small town known as Webster in South Dakota. His family moved often when he was a boy, bouncing between California, Oregon, and South Dakota. He was the youngest of two boys and suffered from a devastating relationship with his mother, who was heartbroken and furious that Jerry had not been born a girl. She would dress him as one in order to humiliate him. Psychiatrists examining him later in life believed his violent fantasies revolved around a desperate wish to take revenge on his mother. When he was just 5 years of age, Brudos found a pair of women's high heels in a junkyard. He brought them home to try them on, and when his mother caught him, she humiliated him for it and destroyed the shoes. What could not be destroyed was his growing fascination with women, their shoes, and his burgeoning dark, violent fantasies about them both. He reportedly went on to steal a pair of high-heeled shoes from his first grade teacher and was fond of stealing women's underwear from neighbours' homes. High-heeled shoes and women's undergarments would go on to play a larger role in his future murder sprees. During his teen years, Brudos began stalking local women who would then either knock down or choke unconscious before taking off with their shoes. At the age of 17, he threatened a woman at knife point, forced her to remove all of her clothes, and took photographs of her before he released her. Some reports indicate that he also beat her, while others say that he assaulted a second woman who rejected him. After his release, he was sent to Oregon State Hospital psychiatric ward for 9 months. While there, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He was allowed to attend school during the day and managed to graduate high school along with the rest of his class in 1957. His history of violent behaviour and dangerous mental health condition did not keep him from forming relationships, at least on the surface. After spending a brief time in the US Army and being discharged for his bizarre obsessions, Brudos began working as an electrician. He was 22 years of age. He married a 17-year-old named Darcy Metzler, and the couple first moved to Portland, Oregon, where they had 2 children together. Some of his friends described him as a devoted family man who neither drank nor smoked and rarely, if ever, used profanity. Reports indicate that Darcy was thoroughly brainwashed by Brudos. She followed his orders that she stay home and wear nothing other than high heels, and she was not allowed to enter either the garage or attic of their home without first making a request over the intercom system Brudos set up and awaiting his permission. Between January the 26th, 1968 and the 23rd of April, 1969, Brudos killed 4 women and attempted to kill others. The first victim was Linda Slauson, who was 19 at the time. She was a door-to-door encyclopedia saleswoman. After knocking on his door, Brudos lured her to the garage while his wife and children were in the house, knocked her out with a wooden plank, and strangled her. He dressed her in female undergarments and shoes he had stolen, arranged her body in provocative poses, and used a hacksaw to cut her left foot, which he kept in the freezer and used to model his collection of high-heel shoes. He disposed of the body in the Willamette River. Karen Spinker, 19, was the second victim. She was abducted at gunpoint from a car park outside a department store. Brudos was dressed in women's clothes during the attack. He brought her to his garage, made her try on his collection of undergarments, and posed while he photographed her, raped her, and strangled her by hanging her from her neck in a pulley. He had sex with the body on several occasions and cut out the breasts to make plastic molds. Afterward, he would tie the body to a 6-cylinder car engine with nylon cord and threw it in the Willamette River. The third victim was a 23-year-old motorist named Jan Susan Whitney. Her car broke down on the Interstate 5 between Salem and Albany in Oregon. Brudos offered to drive her home with the excuse of letting her call a pickup truck there. While still in the car, he strangled her with a leather strap and raped her post-mortem. He then kept the body hanging from the pulley in his garage for several days. during which he dressed, had sex, and photographed it. This time Brudos cut one of her breasts and made a resin mold out of it and used it as a paperweight. Afterward, he tied the body to a railroad iron and threw it into the Willamette River along with Slauson's foot, which had rot. The fourth victim was Linda Saley. She was 22 and she was abducted from a shopping mall car park. Brudos brought her to his garage where he raped and strangled her and played with her corpse. He decided not to cut her breasts because they were too pink and instead drove an electrical current through her body in an attempt to make it jump, which failed. Afterward, he tied the body to a car transmission with a nylon cord and threw it into the Willamette River. Brudos also attempted to abduct 2 other women. One was at gunpoint. In both cases, he failed. Jury considered himself an artist, even if that was photographing the dead bodies of women he killed. When a woman who escaped jury's clutches picked him out of a police lineup, authorities acquired permission to search his home. Inside the garage he had made his studio, they found countless photographs of dead women in various states of dress and dismemberment, as well as some of their severed limbs. The evidence would prove to be crucial when it came time to arrest and interrogate him in connection with his murders. He was finally apprehended in 1969 after 3 of the bodies had been found in the river. One local college girl interviewed by police described a date she'd been on with a heavyset man with light hair and freckles who claimed to be a Vietnam War veteran, mentioned the dead woman who had been found and suggested that perhaps he'll be taking her to the river and strangle her as well. The police asked the woman to call him back and to arrange a second date, but when Brudos arrived to pick her up, the police were waiting for him instead. After a lengthy interrogation, Brudos confessed to all 4 murders, the 2 attempted abductions, the several additional assaults. He could only be tried and convicted for the 3 of the murders, as Slauson's body was never found, and Brudos had neither taken photographs of her nor kept his trophy from her body. After pleading guilty, he received 3 consecutive life sentences to be served in the Oregon State Penitentiary. Over the course of his years in jail, Brudos successfully managed to solicit a large collection of women's shoes catalogues from clothing manufacturers he wrote to. He was frequently beaten by fellow inmates, including one occasion on the 1st of January 1970 when he was treated for rectal bleeding that was classified as being caused by hemorrhoids or other. Brudos died on March the 28th, 2006 from liver cancer after spending a record-breaking 37 years in prison, making him the longest ever incarcerated inmate in the Oregon Department of Corrections.